Okay, so the topic for panel discussion is revenue management and financial strategy for startups. And for that, I would like to invite Mr. Nikhil Gupta, CEO and fund manager of Marwari Catalyst. Please give him a huge round of applause. Akash Walia, Secret Alchemist, the co-founder. Mr. Harsh Kedia ji, a Deputy Chief CEO. Dr. Sonali Kirde, can we have a huge round of applause, everybody? Dr. Sonali Kirde ji, Medical Doctor, Healthcare Strategic, Startup Mentor, and Mr. Abhimanyu Londhe ji, Abhi Incubation Angel Fund, co-founder of Abhi Incubation and Angel Fund. Over to you, sir.
Hi. So, how many of you know the panelist here? Can someone, which of the panelists is famous around here? Can someone from the audience raise their hand and say who you know here? Bhai, participate karo. Yeah, yes sir. Oh, you know? That's so nice, okay. And who else? Anybody else? ऊपर का नाम भी पढ़ के बना दो यार, गूगल कर लो, विकीपीडिया यूज कर लो, गूगल अंकल, विकी आंटी. Okay, so I am going to ask some questions to the audience as well. So you all have to be prepared to answer, okay? It's not going to be that they are the ones who are going to answer and you are going to be hearing and then nodding and drinking some water from the bottles kept before you. You are also going to be participating, okay? Yeah, so hi, I'm Abhimanyu and we're going to talk about revenue management and financial strategies. But before that, how many of you run a startup or run a business or are into doing something on your own in the audience? Yes sir, what do you do? एक mic दीजिए audience में please. Can we have a mic with the audience please? Yes sir, what do you do?
Riya.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, hello everybody.
Hi.
Myself Altamash, and we are into the manufacturing sector. We are the herbal, pharmaceutical as well as nutraceutical product manufacturing. So we are very much related to Dr. Sonali. She can understand the business.
Excellent, excellent. Who else is there from manufacturing? Anyone else? Trading? Yes.
Hello.
You are into what manufacturing?
Hello. हाँ.
किस चीज़ का manufacturing है आपका?
Plastic and glass fiber reinforced plastic.
Oh, wow. Okay. Great. So now we go back.
35 years.
Wow, that's a long
Experience.
time. Okay. So I'm going to put across some questions, and then maybe one of you can decide who wants to pick up that question and then answer. Okay. So, what actually is revenue management? Who would want to take it up? Yeah, please.
First of all, thank you so much, Abhimanyu, for doing this, for moderating the session, and I welcome all our attendees here. And moving to the question, what is revenue management? Before that, jumping into the question directly, I would like to highlight few things for our startups, for the founders who are in the attendees in the audience. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fine, thanks. So, for startups, for founders who are at the early stage of their business, it's very important to have revenue management. So, the importance is huge. The second thing is sometimes it becomes very difficult for new founders, especially the first timers, to manage revenue in a certain way. And if it is not done properly, ultimately it will lead to losses. Now, revenue management as a broader term, it is defined as when you use your tools, when you use some analytics or some analytical analysis of the data that you gather during the process of your business. While using that, you optimize your pricing, and you try to sell your product to the right customer at the right time, using the right channel at the right price. So I think it's very important to have a good revenue management for optimizing the pricing, understanding the environment of the market and the demand and supply ratio, so that you always become the service provider or the product provider whenever the supply is huge, the demand is huge, and your supply is ready, your inventory is ready for supply.
Yeah, thank you so much. So optimization is an important thing. So Nikhil, next to you, when you talk about optimization, what is the life cycle of a business, and when do you should start optimizing it?
So Abhimanyu, thank you so much first of all for having me on the panel over here. And I think it's a great audience over here. It's on a Sunday morning. We are seeing a good participation coming in over here. So thank you so much for that. Answer to your question, and I'll take a little bit of a pushback over here in terms of, and I'll try and address also your first question a little more in detail, adding to what Sonali mentioned. According to me, revenue management in a very simple language is optimum utilization of resources. Right? It is about optimum utilization of the minimal resources which are available and maximizing your profitability in a very simple language. I'm not even talking of profitability, top line, bottom line, no jargons used over here. बहुत simple language में it is about कि आपके पास में जो limited resources available है उसको आप कैसे use करते हो और अपना profitability maximize करते हो. That is what revenue management and cost management also for that matter is. Now coming back to your question, at what stage it is required? I think it is required at every stage. I think whether a company is at an idea stage, company is at a revenue generation stage, or at a growth stage. At every different stage, there has to be optimum utilization of resources, and revenue management is required across all stages. The only difference is that at different stages, the nature of revenue management changes. So for example, at an idea stage, the thought process would be to get themselves established, to have themselves the MVP versions or the trial versions established. At an accelerator stage or at a post-initial stage, post-idea stage, maybe the focus area would be to scale them up. So it will be about every revenue that is generated, it should be only in the direction of scalability. Third would be at the growth stage. So the moment we are talking about a growth stage, which means that we are talking about much larger interface, both commercially and non-commercially, larger fundraise, larger ecosystem participation. अगर आप manufacturing company में हैं जैसे सर हैं यहाँ पे, so the objective over there would be for a larger outreach, growth stage to that extent, which again revenue management is very important. So revenue management is required at all different stages, right from the initial stage. In terms of timeline, if I say, perhaps for the entire life cycle of a startup, revenue management is very, very important at all different stages.
So to you, Akash.
Yeah, sure.
What comes first? Revenue, cost, profit?
I think, so firstly again, very excited to be here. Thanks for having me here. I think this is a classic question that, let's say, most startups like us, we face, right? That what to focus on first, what to prioritize. And I think often it comes down to what stage you are at, right? So let's say we are using the word startup. Startup means that, okay, you are in your 0 to 1 or a 1 to 10 kind of a journey. So I mean, especially if you are in that 0 to 1 journey, it's important to, one, get your product market fit and get your brand out there. So therefore I would say growth is priority, at least in the 0 to 1 stage where there is revenue and growth coming. So I see growth and revenue as the same thing, because you cannot grow and not earn revenue, because then it's you're gifting to your customers, it's not sales, right? So I think growth revenue for sure would be top priority, followed by, I think there is a huge focus now of costs for startups that we have to be very conscious. पहले दिन से आप पैसा बना रहे हो कि नहीं. I think second priority for sure is कि at least per order मैं पैसे बना रहा हूँ तो मैं कुछ सही चीज़ कर रहा हूँ. मेरा प्रोडक्ट सही है, मेरा प्राइसिंग सही है. सो सेकंड इज़ फॉर श्योर कॉस्ट, एंड देयरफॉर द थर्ड ऑटोमेटिकली बिकम्स प्रॉफिट, बिकॉज फार्मूला भी वैसे ही है, सेल्स माइनस कॉस्ट इज़ प्रॉफिट. सो आई थिंक दैट ऑटोमेटिकली इज़ द थर्ड आउटकम एंड थर्ड प्रायोरिटाइजेशन कि प्रॉफिट बनना चाहिए. बट ऑफकोर्स जैसे हम ग्रो करते हैं कंपनीज़ को, लेट स्टेज कंपनीज जैसे कोई यहाँ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कर रहा है, बाहर मैंने काफ़ी स्टॉल्स देखे जो काफ़ी ऑलरेडी उनका ब्रांड बन चुका है या तो काफ़ी सेल्स कर रहे हैं, उनके लिए प्रॉफिट बिकम्स द फर्स्ट प्रायोरिटी, राइट. एक बार आप एक स्केल पे आ जाते हो, लेट्स से आप 20, 30, 40 लैक्स पर मंथ भी कर रहे हो, तो प्रॉफिट बिकम्स योर प्रायोरिटी, बिकॉज एट द एंड ऑफ द डे आप क्यों कर रहे हैं, कंपनी क्यों चला रहे हैं, राइट. हम कंपनी बना रहे हैं कि हम प्रॉफिट बनाए एट द एंड ऑफ द डे. तो आई थिंक देयर प्रॉफिट बिकम्स फर्स्ट प्रायोरिटी एंड देन रेवेन्यू एंड देन कॉस्ट अगेन ऑटोमेटिकली इज़ द थर्ड आउटकम, क्योंकि आप प्रॉफिट बना रहे हो तो कॉस्ट तो कवर हो ही जाएगा. सो आई फील डिपेंड्स ऑन द स्टेज ऑफ द कंपनी, ये प्रायोरिटाइजेशन होनी चाहिए.
Any one of you want to add to it?
No, I think like I mentioned, and I'll support what Akash also mentioned, that at every different stage it is required, and yes, I agree that at different stages the priorities would change. So like I initially mentioned, at the idea stage you have different objectives, at growth stage you have different objectives. So it is very important that each and every single startup founder is in terms with what stage he is at, and I always take the liberty of saying this, that let's not skip a step. So if I am an idea stage company, I cannot fancy myself looking at the growth stage and put my entire strategies, my entire go-to-market approach, everything in that direction. I have to be in sync with the stage that I am in. It is time that all of us be very real, and let's try and deliver to that extent, because end of the day we are actually answerable to a set of audience, right? As a startup founder, I'm answerable to my vendors, I'm answerable to my audience, I'm answerable to my buyers, I'm answerable to my shareholders and my stakeholders. As a fund, I'm answerable to my investors. So I think it's the entire ecosystem which needs to be in sync with at what stage you are at, and to that extent put in efforts in achieving the best possible revenue or revenue management to that extent.
Just a point to add. First of all, thank you both of you for summarizing it so beautifully. Just one thing from one point from my end. For me, growth is the point that we would like to prefer. So it clearly indicates that the business is expanding, it is going into market, the market fitment exercise has been done very carefully and properly, and also the expansion of inventories is also has been taken care of. So if growth is the thing that we need to think about, so I think I would like to go with the growth as a first stage.
Excellent. In the audience, how many of you want to start a startup? बस 2 ही लोग हैं. कितने लोग हैं यहाँ पे? So all of you are happy with your bosses, all of you are happy with the company you are working for, all of you are happy with the job you have. किसी को कोई दुख नहीं है कहीं पे? अच्छा, I think yes sir.
Will you allow me? I want to say something
जी sir.
regarding revenue management. Okay? But I will talk about only management. Revenue is afterthought. This is my opinion, my experience. So for management, you need very good planning. What is planning? Planning is an anticipation.
Okay.
Planning bridges the gap, what we are today and what we want to do tomorrow. That is a bridge. And another main aspect, decision making. Management father, Lord Taylor. Definition I am telling you. What is decision making? taking wrong decision at right time is very good decision.
Right.
But taking good decision prolongated is a wrong decision. So basically, while when anybody start business, it is thumb rule. You have to give 1,000 days. You need hard work. You know market policies. You must know what are market is going. You have to change according to market.
So we more focusing on revenue management.
Yes,
So
and then revenue comes. रेवेन्यू कैसे जनरेट होता है? आपका हार्ड वर्क, आपकी मेहनत, आपका लगन, ये सब करके रेवेन्यू जनरेट होता है. दिस इज माय ओपिनियन ना. आई एम सॉरी इफ
yeah, that's absolutely welcome suggestions.
Okay.
So now when sir has said this, so I'm sure you would be working with a lot of management teams. So who makes a good revenue management plan? A CFO, CEO, MD, or a marketing team, or the sales guy?
I'll actually take that. So for sure, it should start with the CEO making the plan that what is the final target number that needs to happen, right? That okay, ये साल we want to do 5 crores of sale or 2 crores of sale or even 100 crores of sale, whichever the stage the company is in. But at the end, it's always best the one who's going to lead sales, the sales head. In most cases, CEOs are the sales heads. So then they themselves should be making that revenue plan, because everything about revenue management, about sales, about target achievement everything has to do with the numbers that you are setting in place. If you are not achieving your target consecutively for 2 or 3 months, then you are doing something completely wrong. And therefore, I don't see that okay, a operations head or a CFO should be making a revenue plan, because at the end of the day, the salesperson has to execute. So sales head should make the plan and own it at the end of the day. And then if it's not happening, it is the sales head's responsibility. So I mean, at least that's my short answer to this.
Sure. Both of you want to add? One of you?
I think, I believe in the fact that it has to be more of a bottom-top kind of an approach, right? Because for anybody who is actually working on ground zero, they need to understand कि हम किस में burn कर रहे हैं, किस में productively invest कर रहे हैं. Yes, making plans or revenue plans, cost management plans is very important, but the execution I understand is more important. जो एक्चुअल धंधा होता है ना, वो ग्राउंड लेवल पे जो एक्चुअली फीट ऑन स्ट्रीट है, जो एक्चुअली फ्रंट लाइन इंटरफेस में है, वो लोग करते हैं. आई ट्रूली बिलीव इन दैट. So I might be having a revenue plan in front of me, but if I'm still not following it, that plan is of no use to me. And the actual execution of the plan happens by people who's on a day-on-day basis on the operational front or on the sales front. So for me, an easier answer would be that perhaps I will not be looking at a BDO or as a sales head as a more instrumental person in leading that, but I'll rather want to fall back as a fund manager. I'll want to actually introspect how much their sales team is working on. If we are talking of a CMO, for me more important is their actually management team or their marketing team, how much they are burning on it and how much they are actually generating revenue out of it. If it comes to the operations head, for me it is more important to understand कि जो actually जो operations कर रहे हैं, उसमें कौन actual utilization of funds कर रहा है in the right way and कौन non-productive usage कर रहा है. So I believe that the first trigger comes in from a bottom-top kind of an approach, where everybody at the bottom level, they need to understand the criticality, the importance, and sorry to use the word, the nuisance also that goes behind it. So if somebody who is actually on ground zero, who is actually on the working front, as long as, and we've seen enough and more examples for companies where, I mean, all of us know of companies where they don't have designations assigned, they don't have titles assigned, right? We don't have somebody like a CMO over there, though the person might be instrumental in leading the entire marketing function, but end of the day, he is still not called as a chief marketing officer. We know of companies जहाँ पे chief executive officer नहीं होता है, right? senior management hota hai, those 4, 5, 6, 10 key people are there, but they are not given any titles. They are not giving any title because it is assumed that in those companies it has to be an open door kind of a culture. Everybody is working on it. At Marwari Catalyst, all of us, we are involved into everything. We are involved into running accelerator programs. We are involved into answering our shareholders and identifying the right opportunities, shortlisting them, due diligence हम साथ में करते हैं. All of those things are done together. So it becomes very important that all of us understand कि one single penny that I am using out of my company funds, it is whether I am doing it in the right way or I am not doing it. And as long as I follow those structures, I think all kinds of plans which are formulated and structured at the higher level, they fall in place. So I think that's where it comes from. Sorry, just a little deviation from what you asked.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody in the audience wants to add here? If you have a case study or a personal experience on a particular revenue management aspect. Yes, sir. Can someone pass the mic there?
Yeah, hi, myself, Shaukat.
There's someone behind as well. So after you speak, you can pass the mic.
Okay, okay, no issues. Yeah. I personally believe it's a total teamwork from bottom to the top. We need every person to generate their revenue from labor to the boss. So it's a connected thing. If we launch the product from any FMCG, any retail company, so we need a people from labor to manager, boss, salesperson, and some decision making authority. So it's, I believe personally, it's a teamwork, and a good team generate a heavy revenue in future to good people from labor to the boss. It's a totally teamwork. I believe in that. Thank you.
Sure. Gentleman in the
Good morning. I'm Dr. Alam from Pune. I don't want to add anything. I just have one question from Mr. Gupta. As he suggested that the company should, company should give some designations as well as to the higher authorities. As you mentioned that the single penny what we invest, so what would be the criteria for the profit generation? As you said that the field force is working on the ground, is there any formula, is there any ratio, what kind of amount or cost should be involved for the field force, R&D department, and the complete operations? Is there any formula? Can we have some your views on that?
So there is no formula which I can actually mention over here, but I think it's pegged to the achievement or the objective of that particular company. So let's say if you're talking to a sales driven organization, we are talking, and I'll give you an example over here, if you're talking to a founder of a startup company which is in the business of B2C, okay, so if you're actually talking of a B2C space, then heavy inclination needs to be towards sales generation or revenue generation from day one itself, which means that we need to focus, or we need to put in a bigger allocation of the budget towards the feet on street or the people who are actually driving sales over there. Now, I'm not even talking of whether we are talking of a sales head or we are talking of the sales executives over there, and that's a wide spectrum that we're talking about. But yes, as a function, then heavy concentration needs to be on that particular area. Similarly, if you're talking to maybe a tech-driven company, which is in the business of, let's say, something like maybe a deep tech. Now, deep tech, for obvious reasons, they cannot afford to look at one single day of a technology holiday, right? So, which means the inclination will be more towards tech as a space. So, that's why it becomes a little subjective to which company it is, which space it is, and what's the objective that they're wanting to achieve. So, it will be subjective to that extent.
Why I ask? Because we come from the healthcare industry, like my partners and my co-founders. We are from the Unani Ayurveda nutraceutical herbal manufacturer. So, it's directly sometimes B2B, sometimes B2C, some direct, it's an indirect marketing. Like, we don't go on the field directly because field force go to the doctors and doctor prescribe and then taken by the customers. So it's a very three-way, four-way. So this is difficult to understand and allocate a lot of funds So sometimes we lose, sometimes we earn. That's how I have asked, is there any formula so we can work and we can adopt that and we can make more money out of it?
So I think like you mentioned that there are instances where you are expected to switch from a B2B to a B2C or to a direct sales. But then I'm sure that you must have also kept some allocation towards, in terms of weightage, how much you're wanting to concentrate on B2B, B2C and various other segments. So I think that will be the first touch point for you to use the same and replicate the same in terms of your resource management and cost management also.
Yeah, we have started since last 1.5 year to allocating budgets to all the different divisions and department. Very heavily for the R&D and rest second followed by the field force staff and rest second, third, fourth and fifth priorities. Thank you for your all the observations.
So I can little bit add to this.
Please, sir.
Yeah. So the multiple, I think you are asking for a money multiple on terms of a kind of a back of an envelope calculation for you to decide whether you want to take it up or not.
Yeah.
So on an average, in my experience, whatever I have seen the money multiple depending upon the sector you are and the manpower cost that gets assigned vis-a-vis the production cost. And the money multiple ranges from 2 to 5.
2 to 5.
Yeah. So where the manpower cost is high, the money multiple will come down. Okay, and the production cost is high, the money multiple will go up.
So Mr. Walia also said that you have to have very optimal the resources. The same resources you can make out a lot of work. So usage of resources, you talk about that. So same thing you endorse that. Thank you very much for that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. So coming back to our question. Okay. So in terms of pricing forecasting, at what stage does it start playing an important role? B. When should the pricing overrule the profitability?
I'll actually take the B question first. I don't think ever pricing should overtake profitability because whatever you price, you have to price it in such a way that you are still making profit, right? At the end, I think the rough formula everybody in the market today uses is the gross margin, that what is the sales price minus the cost of goods sold. And I think that should always be, at least for product companies or service companies, upwards of 70-80% or even more, right? So when you price, even when you let's say price the product at a discount, right, which is what many of us companies, including ours, we do at the initial stages, so that there is traction, so that there is people are able to try out your product at a much lower price, because you need to build trust. Even at that stage, you have to make sure that your price is higher than your cost of goods sold, right? At no point profitability should get beaten at a transaction level itself. Then obviously there is marketing spends, people cost, all of that. So that's why, sorry, I answered your B question first. But going back to your A question, forecasting price is directly proportional to your demand forecasting in terms of, is there a season? जैसे अभी दिवाली है तो most sweet companies will not give you discounts, right? Because उनको पता है आप लेने ही वाले हो, 10% में discount ना दो तो भी आप ले लोगे. तो that is, let's say, building in the entire seasonality of the business into the price. कि when there is demand, don't necessarily give a discount. You are launching a new product, do not give a discount. Keep it high price because people are going to try a new product, and when it's in your mainstream product line is when you, let's say, start giving discount. So in terms of, I think, forecasting, it's more about, I mean, especially in India, it's all about seasonality. Is there a Amazon Flipkart sale going to happen, right? If you are selling on it, then great. If you are not, then it's going to actually hamper your sales. So no use keeping your products at MRP, whereas Amazon is going to sell your own product at 20% discount. So I think in very simple language, I think forecasting is nothing but trying to tune your pricing towards seasonality and trying to tune your pricing towards demand. That when is the demand actually going to come?
I think, sorry, I'll just add one more thing, Abhimanyu, over here. I think also, let's also look at it from Indian perspective and the global landscape, right? see, India is a very price sensitive market for whatever product category, whatever space that we are in. So the bigger key over here or the bigger charm over here is to concentrate on the bottom line. So, and that can only be achieved when you are able to control your cost or you are able to control your burn. So you might not be able to influence the pricing as much, but you can definitely take charge of how much you are retaining, how much is your bottom line. So I think that is a bigger, the entire focus, the entire concentration should be in terms of trying to maintain a balance or trying to make the most at your bottom level or your bottom line rather than your top line. Because at no point of time you will be able to afford, any startup will be able to afford staying out of market, right? You cannot charge obnoxious amounts or you can't overprice a particular product, right? So definitely it is very important that you should be able to stay in the market in the competitive market and try to inflate or try to increase your bottom line. I think that is a bigger area which every founder should focus on.
I have a question for you, Dr. Sonali. So you have a business, okay, and the business is doing good, the sales are good, the revenue is good, okay, but the collection is bad. What would you change? And what would you do to that? Not good. The collection is poor. Your revenue is good, your sale pricing is good, your sales are good, but your collection is poor. How do you handle the situation?
I'll actually take that one, and this is a big learning for me that I had been given by my then boss. This was 10 years ago. I used to be a business development person at L&T, and he had given a very simple line that a sale is not a sale if you have not collected the money. If you have not collected the money, then it's a gift, right? So every time the collection would go out of mark for me, he would say that please stop gifting in the market, right? And I think that's still the golden rule I hold, where every penny has to come. But let's say your sales is doing fantastic, and to answer your question, and collections is not doing good, you have to change focus very immediately, because then whatever you are doing on paper is actually gifting and nothing to do with sales, right? I think most, including startups now, have started to inculcate this culture of making sure that you are recognizing revenue only when the payment is coming in, right? And not that, okay, you send the bill and therefore it's a sale. It's actually when the payment is coming in is when you have started to, is when you actually made a sale, right? So I think that culture is now coming in. People are looking at collections in these 30, 60, 90-day buckets, tagging it as a risky collection, a risky vendor. Very fortunately for us now, there are softwares available out there that is helping you tag a vendor as risky based on transactions. If you are a very large company, that is also available, right? So I think long story short is that if the collections are not in place, immediately you have to drop all other tasks and focus on collection. I mean, including the CEO should be going and collecting the payment and sitting in somebody's cabin and asking for money, right? So I think it's the main responsibility for every individual in the employee, amongst the employees.
You want to add, Nikhil?
I think, Abhimanyu, we see this too often in a D2C company or in a product related company where, and we spoke about sales going around on Myntra, on Amazon and stuff like that, right? So how do you factor in when, let's say I have sold, as a founder, I have sold 5 shirts, which is good, but 3 I have received them back as a return product, right? How do you look at this? So will we call it as a good sales? For me as a fund manager, no, it's not a good sale. If 70% or 60% of my products are getting returned for whatever reason, I think I need to focus more either on my quality of my products, on my distribution management, on my sales management, supply chain management, warehousing. Something somewhere has gone wrong, right? So I'm my best judge. I should be able to judge that at what stage, at what functional level I'm going wrong, and I need to plug that gap in and I need to step that up. So I think the ownership is more on the founders first, to identify the problem point area, to plug in that gap, and then to talk about scalability, because scalability will not come until unless all the gaps in the system are plugged in. I understand that the gaps would be there on a regular basis, but yes, like Akash also mentioned, The charm is to identify it at the right time before it gets alarming, and to plug it in, and then to maybe look at the next gap and plug that in, so on and so forth.
Okay, now we all are burdened by the taxation structures and the taxes we have to pay. How do we account for that, and when do we do it in a particular business which is lacking and we need to manage the revenues?
Sorry, okay, so sorry, just can you add that again?
So we have this issue with taxes. We have to keep paying taxes at regular intervals, okay? And you have a business which is doing good, but collections are poor, profitability on paper is there, and then you have to ensure that you pay taxes. In such a situation, how do you manage that situation?
Right. I think it's the hard truth. You can't manage that situation, especially in today's time, right? I think now everything is digitized and for good. I'm in a way very happy that GST, TDS has become one, completely digitized, and two, stringent, because it makes my life easier as a founder. I don't need to keep thinking, Acha, can I not pay this GST and try to save money, or can I pay this TDS 2 quarters out, because then all of that is just not allowed. So management of taxes is honestly no longer a topic. It is something you have to do. And that actually gets us back to the previous question, where collections becomes extremely important, right? That if you have not collected, you are going to not just pay for the cost of good, you are now paying taxes from your own pocket. And I think that's where going back, collections is super crucial, because from that you will pay your taxes. And to be honest, it's the easiest not to manage taxes and just go ahead and pay it in today's time at least.
Okay.
See, any which way, you can't do anything about it, right? Taxes is a lion in the room and you can't do anything about it. But I think gone are those days where all of us have started, we used to fall back on outstandings. I think today all of us are in sync with actual amounts that we have received, not receivables. So I think that plays a very important role. The moment all accounting practices are inclined in that direction, where we are talking about what amount we have received against our sales vis-a-vis the outstanding or the receivables, I think if you are able to manage that well, I think this question is addressed in a bigger way.
You share some good examples of a good revenue management strategy? Any one of you? You need not name a company, you can just talk about some numbers or talk about a product where you are closely involved.
So generally it is observed, especially in the hotel business, when the demand is huge, there is always a surge in price. So I think that is one example that we can quote for the good revenue management, but for that you have to understand the behavior of your customer as well. Some demand forecasting, which also includes which are your stakeholders or the customers which can actually pay, what is the time or the season at which you can increase your price. Third thing is the inventory management. If there is the demand is increasing, you should also have the supply in place. And the fourth thing is about the categorization of the market. So understanding the market wave and understanding the essence of market is also important. So I think hotel business and airlines is also another example. So we have all are experienced whenever there is the demand is huge, the price of airlines are also goes up. So I think I would like to give the generic examples rather than giving very specific.
Yeah. Have any examples?
So I'll give a name over here also, in fact, and I can take the liberty of giving that name because it's my own portfolio company, right? So there is a company called Terms, TURMS. Terms is I don't know if anybody is familiar with what Terms is all about. Terms is a D2C company. They came to us as a D2C company, and they are in the business of garments and apparels for men's. Okay. One step higher because they are in and they moved on to become a lifestyle company today. Why a lifestyle company? Because they are into anti-wrinkle, anti-odor, anti-stain, chemical based, tech based, supply chain management, all of those things plus point for them. Now when this company actually came to us, they came to us as a venture studio acquisition, right? where they were on a ARR, which is annual recurring revenue of 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs. And fast forward 3 years, today they are at a MRR of 1.2, 1.25 crores consistently since the past year and a half, 2 years time. Okay. So no single month their recurring revenue has dipped. Now they've been able to do that because of a lot of other things also, a lot of things which they have tried to inculcate as a culture in their thesis. And very minuscule things that I can talk about. Every single penny that they are spending, so again, when we are talking about cost management and revenue management, it's a live example. Because unless they were able to do that, their bottom line would not have improved, their bottom lines would not have improved, obviously it will reflect on their top lines also. Secondly, in terms of customer service, now this might sound a thankless kind of an outreach or an approach, but in a service oriented industry and also equally equivalent to applicable to a product based company where service plays a big time role today. Okay, because every product that we are selling, it is actually getting acknowledged and accepted. And that's where the third point comes in terms of retention metrics. As fund managers, we place a lot of importance. हम हमारे portfolio companies को या जो भी startups companies को evaluate करते हैं, उनको ये पूछते हैं कि आप 100 रुपए का सेल कर रहे हो, 100 रुपए में से आपका recurring revenue कितना है, 100 रुपए में से आपका retention कितना है, how much is your repeat orders, what is the value of your repeat orders. Why are all these things important? These things are important because it becomes important for everybody in the ecosystem to understand कि what is that one extra thing that you're offering over and above your product, right? So that's why when it comes to optimum utilization of funds, cost management, revenue management, this kind of an approach is very important. And having done that, today they are on the same company is on an MRR of 1.2, 1.25 crores. They are on an ARR in the past year and a half, 2 years time of 15 crores, 18 crores. The company 5 years back, they were valued at 1.2, 1.5, 2 crores. I won't give the exact number over here, but close to say 2 crores. And today the company is valued at 40 crores after 5 years time or 4 years time. So that's my own example.
So you used to run, Akash, a loss-making company. So how did you do that? What actions did you take?
No, I think big learnings over there for sure, and I think previously the strategy to grow was slightly different of how startups were approaching it, and that's where I think when we were in that stage where at Farmeasy where there was a bit of loss that was happening, but at the same time we were of course growing exponentially, right? And in the hindsight, of course, as people say, you are wiser in hindsight. At that time we felt that okay, that is the way to grow, and all companies almost around us and in the US were following that strategy. And then came the whole funding winter where everything changed for us, right? But what I have to say is that we were extremely agile to quickly turn things around. So even before the market changed in India, as soon as there was a bit of market change that happened in US, our strategy completely changed. We started to focus on cost, and in fact, as on today, overall API is completely EBITDA positive from the last 6 to 8 months, right? So, and I think that's where we've been able to turn it around. And that's where we go back to the first question, where what is priority? Initially, growth, revenue was priority, but obviously as soon as markets changed, profit became priority, right? So I think the equations completely changed there. I have to say, this is a very engaging session for sure of all the questions you have asked.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, Nikhil, this question is for you. If as a business owner, I come to you and ask you to invest in my business, what is the first question you will ask me?
So, Abhimanyu, my company, which is Marwadi Catalyst, our positioning is a little different. We come in as an accelerator. We are a startup accelerator. Going to the very basics, for me as I can only accelerate somebody who is already there in business, right? I cannot, no matter how much I would want, but I cannot help anybody start from ground zero. So hence for me, the few points, and there are a lot of points that we have on our checklist. whilst we are interviewing companies, while we are interacting with the founders, conducting our due diligence. But my first point on my checklist is that the company should be a revenue generating company. So as a fund manager, as a fund manager and an accelerator, I will not want to look at a pre-revenue company. That is the first and the most important thing for me when it comes to my theses in terms of investments. So in a very simple language, if I might say, so I invest, yes, I invest in every single company that we accelerate, and the flip side is I only accelerate those companies where I carry the strength and conviction to invest myself. So for me, that is the most important. And secondly, of course, then we have a lot of other areas where and I'm currently already managing around close to 80 companies in my portfolio. So it becomes important for me to do justice to my other existing portfolio companies also. I will not want to look at any clashes amongst themselves, so no competitive space that I'll want to look at. A very important point which I'll want to look at would be the core team or the founder, how much the founder is equipped in terms of managing their business or the space. We usually prefer looking at co-founders and not a single founder in the company, because we believe that a lot of competitive skill set brought in from the core team adds value to the company. So co-founders is also something which is very important. And also somewhere, I mean, I can go endlessly talking about it. So amongst the priority points that we usually look at, I place a lot of importance to companies which have been incubated by an incubator also. So at least I'm rest assured that the initial few stages or the initial 1.5 years time, where the startups actually go through a lot of teething problems, to a large extent that is taken care of by the incubator. And thankfully, because we have these different genres of participants in the ecosystem today, whether it is an incubator supported by the government, or it could be accelerators like we coming in, my succeeders like angel networks, funds and stuff like that. I think we have an entire process flow in place already, and like I said initially, all startups should kind of peg themselves to the stage that they are at and reach out to the right set of players.
Sure. Thank you so much. So we have time for 2 questions. Anyone in the audience? Yes, sir.
Just shout out the question.
Yeah,
Pass me here.
yeah.
Yeah, so being a fundraiser and helping people with fundraising. So I have a question. Do you know any of the government agencies or any of the government schemes which are directly funding to these companies which are directly involved into the product manufacturing in India, which are related to healthcare, and also like somebody who is exporting out of India, just have started exporting, and just wanted to have help from the government scheme. So can you highlight on that? Because from you're like a healthcare strategic investor, so just I asked.
So there are multiple schemes from the government side also, and in fact government is trying to have an impactful startups, especially in the healthcare sector. To give the specifics of it, I would love to discuss this in one-to-one so that I can give more information about the same.
Yes, sure. Thank you so much. I think you were wondering what this paper is. Yeah, it says wrap up the session. So whatever questions you have, you can ask one of them one-to-one. And thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.